Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you to my friends Thomas and Christoph for letting me be a part of their 2024 Advent calendar. My name is Andrew Bosley. I'm a freelance illustrator working primarily in the board game industry. You might know some of my work from games like Everdell, Tapestry, and more recently Flock Together. I've been working in board games for about 6 to 7 years, and I love it. The community is wonderful, the people are great, and I'm grateful to be here. So the questions for today are, what was your first board game love? What is your hottest board game love? And what is your newest board game love? So my first board game love is pretty boring. The first game I was introduced to of modern board games is like many others. It was Settlers of Catan, a wonderful game, still one that I enjoy playing. But that's boring. So after many years of playing board games, I kind of slowed down for a few years, and I kind of had a revival of sorts when I was introduced to the game of Scythe. Scythe is still to this day, probably my favorite game of all times. It's an incredible engine building game, wonderful world building, incredible illustrations by Jacob Rosalski. It is the complete package, in my opinion. When I want to feel immersed in a world for an hour to 3 hours, Scythe is the game I want to bring to the table. I've introduced it to my kids. We've all played the campaign together. We have all the expansions. It's one of those games that you want to collect every piece you can, and it still holds a special place on my game shelf as a complete package. My hottest board game love is, if I'm interpreting this correctly, to be probably the game that I played the most. That would be an older game called Attica. My wife and I were introduced to Attica 15, 20 years ago, and it is the number one most game played in our home. I'm pretty certain we have played Attica more times than anybody else, perhaps maybe even more than the designers themselves. Attica is a tile placing, city building game where you are either racing to complete all the buildings in your city before the other, or create a network of cities that create a path from one spot to another on the board. With my wife, we have played 2 150 game tournaments. I was on track to win the first game until my wife destroyed the scoreboard. Rude. So I remade a new scoreboard. We started from scratch, and I was victorious at the end. We have definitely played, if that's 300 together, I'm sure we have played upwards of 400 or 500 games of Attica. So hottest board game goes to Attica. Newest board game love, that would be a great new game called Fromage. I have not played this in person yet, only on Board Game Arena many times, but I know the game to be a beautiful production. I've seen all the things that will come as when I someday get it in person, get it into my collection. But it's basically a simultaneous worker placement game. It's a big circle and divided into 4 quadrants. And all together, all the players are working in their own quadrant until everybody's finished, and then it turns. Thematically, you are making cheese all the time. Making cheese while collecting fruit and cows so you can make more cheese, and different objectives so you can get extra points. It's a fantastic game. Beautiful art, beautiful theme. One that I enjoy getting onto the digital table as often as I can. And I look forward to finally getting that to the table eventually. But I think that covers it. First board game love, hottest board game love, and newest board game love. Thanks for letting me be a part of all of this, and happy holidays to all of you.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for being part of our Advent calendar this year. I really like your choices. Morgen um 8 Uhr geht's weiter mit dem nächsten Kalenderbeitrag und mit dem nächsten fantastischen Gast hier im Better Board Games Adventskalender. Ich hoffe, ihr seid wieder mit dabei. Und wenn ihr einen der bisherigen Beiträge verpasst habt, dann findet ihr die hier auf der Seite verlinkt. Bis dann!